in the relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union. So we are very glad to receive His Majesty the King today in Berlin.
Elon Musk and Apple's co-founder Steve Wozniak are among the big names in technology who have called for a 6-month pause in the development of advanced artificial intelligence systems. In an open letter, 1,000 experts in AI said it should only be available once governments have introduced safety measures. A campaign has been launched in Amsterdam to try to reduce the amount of British tourists. The initiative targets 18 to 35-year-old men looking to make use of the Dutch capital's liberal laws on drugs and the city's red light district. Claire Martens is a local councillor and is backing the plans.
If you really would like to come for our shops, our restaurants, our great museum, for example, you are more than welcome. It's a very specific target group from especially the UK and Italy, who are only coming to Amsterdam with the belief that we are a theme park.
And that's the BBC News. It's 12:04.
Thank you, Justine. Remembering Paul O'Grady today. Got any memory of Paul you'd like to share? Do get in touch. Email vine@bbc.co.uk and please enclose your phone number so we can get you on the programme. Locomotion by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Jeremy Vine here. Very, very sad to hear the news this morning about Paul, and we'll talk about him, and we'd love your thoughts about Paul O'Grady as well. And we'll talk about Amsterdam and the Brits.
Listen live on the BBC.
And AI on this show. So the comedian, drag queen and my former Radio 2 colleague Paul O'Grady has died at the age of just 67. Paul's husband, Andre Portasio, announced that he died unexpectedly but peacefully on Tuesday evening. His death has come as a shock to all of us here. He was recently just in the touring production of Annie as Miss Hannigan, and he was part of all our lives. He fronted some of the biggest shows on British TV, and he soundtracked Sunday afternoons here on Radio 2 for over a decade.
I'm Paul O'Grady, and guess what? Hey, I've finally got my own show. Can you believe it? After years of coming in here and being a stand-in, and I mean years and years of it, they finally bowed and give me my own show. Marvellous what a bit of blackmail can do.
So that was his very first show on Radio 2, April 2009. He rose to fame long before that in the 90s with his drag queen persona Lily Savage. He was discovered at a club in South London and recounted his first performance to Sue Lawley on Desert Island Discs.
I was waiting behind the bar in the Elephant and Castle, and they used to have an amateur night on a Tuesday called Ladies' Night, where they had a live comp and all these. You've never seen acts like them. These acts used to get up and do all these various numbers, mime to records, and I said, but I could do that. I could compare a show like that.
Oh, compare it,
compare.
Not do it.
No, compare it.
Okay.
They said, well, go on then, you get and do it. So the following week I did. Lily was born.
And Lily went on to hold a residency at the iconic LGBTQ venue, the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, for 8 years before going on to appear in programmes such as The Big Breakfast and Top of the Pops.
Good evening and welcome to Blind Date. Emma was on my organ last week. I wasn't amused. Playing with my organ without my permission, I'm sorry. It's Thursday, it's 7 o'clock, it's Top of the Pops. And hopefully, well, I don't know, I'll see you on Lights Highway. Ta-da, God bless, ta-da.
So all kinds of things followed that, and Paul hosted Blankety Blank. He had his own chat show, and then in 2008 was made an MBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours for services to entertainment. In recent years, his love of animals really came to the fore and led him to present programmes such as For the Love of Dogs. He worked a lot with Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. And today we're paying tribute to Paul O'Grady. Maybe you met him, you can tell us what he was like. Maybe you grew up watching him and you were inspired by Lily Savage. Maybe you're a fan who's just devastated today. Email address is vine@bbc.co.uk. Please include your phone number so we can get you back and get you on the air. Text us 88291. Send us a WhatsApp 08000 288 291. Let's speak first to my BBC colleague Paddy O'Connell, and you sat in for him. Did you meet him? Did you know him at all?
I first saw him live at the gay cabaret The Black Cap in Camden, and you used to feel sorry for anyone who tried to heckle him. It seems to me, he lived his life like a blowtorch in the wind. And he's just strong. It was a homophobic time. He was a warrior, really, on behalf of gay people. He was raided. His Royal Vauxhall Tavern show was raided. He thought the copper who came in was a stripper. And he told the crowd, when the police came in wearing rubber gloves, because they'd been filled with prejudice about gay people, he said, are they here to do the washing up? I mean, yes, I did meet him. I was a bit part player in his career. But what's happening in my life is all the people are messaging me. The dog walking group I'm in, the WhatsApp group, everyone's swapping stories about how sad they are because he loved dogs and he loved music and he loved performing and entertaining.
And he had, as a broadcaster, this is such a precious thing, an ability to make you feel like he was talking to only you.
He came through the front door of your living room by your invitation, and then you never wanted him to leave. I saw this firsthand because in the pandemic, he was shielding. So I sat in for his show and he recorded a message and he said to his listeners, hi, Paddy, look after the show, look after him, be nice to him. And then what happened? People then started thinking about all the people in their life who were shielding, their dad, their mum, and they connected it with Paul. Paul was like a lightning rod for the best of British. And the messages that came through to Radio 2 would link someone in their life to Paul. Look after yourself, Paul. Don't mess up the show.
I suppose his humanity came through in his love for animals a lot in the last maybe 10, 15 years of his career, where he was able to really explore that on the air.
Yes. I mean, he kept adopting dogs, having said he wouldn't. His great friend, the producer, our colleague Malcolm Prince, used to talk about all these dogs that used to come through his life because everyone else got to know them as well because they were part of his family. So he visited Battersea Dogs and Cats Home to make a film, then ended up volunteering, then ended up being an ambassador for the place, meeting the Queen Consort, who's paid a tribute today. There's a statue to his dog Buster. He adopted another one, Eddie. And he shared, I'm a dog owner, and all of our Radio 2 listeners who are mad about their dogs, you knew he got what your obsession and your madness about your dog.
I know his producer Malcolm Prince is just too upset to talk about Paul today for understandable reasons, but he tweeted a picture of the two of them yesterday, and Paul looking as he always did, as fit as a fiddle.
67. Now, of course, he had told his heart attack to push off in the past because he had one, I think perhaps two. So he had recovered. But yes, Malcolm was with him, tweeting, they were laughing, and how proud he was to be back in Annie, because this is a British entertainer. I think certainly a national treasure, but because of his work in the gay clubs, probably a national hero. And he never forgot that it's entertainment, and that's kind of what he adored in people, the good entertainers he supported, and he loved a good crack.
Thank you, Paddy O'Connell of Broadcasting House and Radio 2. Thank you so much. Pete Price, broadcaster, old friend of Paul's. I bet this was the worst news for you this morning, Pete.
It's a bit hard to talk about, Jeremy, but I want to do it because, he was, people use the word legend, too lightly. He was a legend, and what he's done for entertainment and for people and for animals is just remarkable, and he is a remarkable man. I've known him for many, many years. He brought a new way of life to a drag act. He was hysterically funny, but he was also very clever. Jeremy, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly where he was going and when to hang the dress up, because he knew there was more to the entertainment than just Lily. And of course, Lily was his family, old ladies he met at Birkenhead, people when he was working in the social services. Everything became Lily, and he was ruthless. I mean, if you got on the wrong side of Lily, forget it. Last time I interviewed him, which I loved, I was speaking to him on the phone on my show, and I said, "How are you?" And he went, "Great, yeah, everything's all right, Pricey, blah, 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 meh." I went, "Pardon?" So he said, I'm just saying, I just made meh, just meh. I said, "Well, Paul, what's going on?" He went, "I've got a lamb in bed with me, it needs feeding, so I just brought it up to bed with me." So he's making a cup of tea and interviewing, and it's just remarkable. And let's not forget, Jeremy, he changed the face of television at tea time. He was getting millions when television was nothing at tea time, and it was a remarkable show, and everybody wanted to go on his show. He was so fantastic.
I wonder if Pete, you might think he's the last great variety star because of his range.
I think you're probably right. That's a good point. You see, Danny LaRue was just a beautiful creature on stage. Paul was a totally different, new lifestyle of a drag queen, and he always says to me that I helped him in my own small way go into Main Street entertainment. He was on my show one night. He was working the Epstein Theatre, which was called the Neptune then, and tickets weren't going well. He came on the show, did 15 minutes. He didn't. He did 3 hours, sold out. And he's always said, "You helped me more than you'll ever know." And I loved him for that. He also knew what he was doing, and he handled audiences. I mean, one night he was doing on tour, and Sonia was with him. They'd done a TV show. Sonia was playing his daughter, and Sonia came on stage and said to Paul, I found my dad. Now, Paul doesn't like surprises. "What do you mean you found your dad? What do you mean you found? He's here. What do you mean you found?" And he had no idea. And I walked on stage, and the abuse I got. And he picked me up and threw me off the stage. He went, "You think I'd sleep with that?"
Oh, thank you, Pete Price, so much. Broadcaster and a very old friend of Paul's. Peter Tatchell is, well, we know as the human rights campaigner. The connection between you and Paul O'Grady is that he was a patron of your foundation, Peter.
That's right, and I actually knew him for almost 4 decades. I first met him when he was doing a gig at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern in South London way back, I think it was 1985. He was an extraordinary, exceptional drag performer, quite unlike many others. He had the usual sort of acerbic wit. He could be, as they said, savage by name and savage by nature, but he was incredibly funny and very political. You know, he was someone who came out of Merseyside, always stayed true to his roots, but, you know, he was devastated by what the Thatcher government did to the Northwest and Merseyside in particular in the 1980s. The huge unemployment, homelessness and poverty by the Thatcher government made him so angry, and he was not afraid to say so. You know, he made friends with individual Conservatives, like he was a great friend of Cilla Black, who was a very staunch Margaret Thatcher supporter, but overall he absolutely loathed the Conservatives and everything they stood for. He was a dyed-in-the-wool socialist. He believed in social justice. He didn't like to see people suffering and being downtrodden, and he supported many campaigns, not just on LGBT plus rights, but on other social justice issues that he felt passionate about.
But it's interesting, I didn't see that side of him on the air when he was broadcasting, and I wonder whether you think he was maybe overly professional in deciding not to use his broadcasting work as a tool of his campaigning.
I think that's certainly true in the latter part of his life. That's certainly true. But in the early days, I mean, he was probably the most political of all the drag acts on the gay circuit, and you know, he spoke and attended many LGBT events. He marched against Section 28, the horrific anti-gay law passed by the Conservative government in 1988. He marched and supported campaigns for AIDS awareness and prevention. And of course, he's been a tremendous supporter of my foundation over the last decade, supporting our human rights work here in Britain and around the world.
Thank you very much, Peter Tatchell. Paul was a patron, as I said, of the Peter Tatchell Foundation. Just back to Paddy O'Connell for one thing. That moment when, as Pete Price said, he hung the dress up was obviously a really big moment, because it seemed as if it really was sliding doors. There was before and after.
Yes, absolutely. And because, you know, to host Blankety Blank as Lily, which had been Terry Wogan's show, which had been Les Dawson's show, and went through into the living room, made drag get mainstream culture, and then to give it up. That's why his friends are saying he was brave, because he was his own person. He said goodbye to the act that had made him, and he got bigger and better because he had warmth inside, which, as Joan Rivers say, if you can fake sincerity, you're made. But Paul was sincere, and he was a great artist.
Thank you so much. Paddy O'Connell, Pete Price, Peter Tatchell. And Peter Tatchell mentioned Cilla Black, who was a great friend of Paul's. We'll play her now.
What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment we live? What's it all about when you started out, Alfie? Are we meant to take more than we give? Or are we meant to be kind? And if only fools are kind, Alfie, then I guess it is wise to be cruel. And if life belongs only to the strong, Alfie, what will you lend on an old golden rule? As sure as I believe there's a heaven above, Alfie, I know there's something much more, something even non-believers can believe in. I believe in love, Alfie. Without true love, we just exist, Alfie, until you find love any day. Elfie.
Cilla, no longer with us, great friend of Paul O'Grady, who died yesterday. Fidelma Shannon's in Newport in Gwent and says, Paul was a real person. I loved his banter with Malcolm Prince on Sunday evenings. I recently read his autobiography with his voice and expressions in my head. So brilliantly quick and witty, acerbic and warm all at the same time. He'll really be missed. Diane emails and says, Paul brought me such comfort on Sunday evenings. My mum had just died and listening to him was so uplifting, like being with a close, funny, dog-loving friend. It's true, it was just such a brilliant show, wasn't it? Amanda in Shropshire says Paul O'Grady was somebody who represented the underrepresented working class, a heart not just for people but stretched to all those abandoned animals. He was a real groundbreaker. Obviously a very kind man. Tina says he looked after children in care before he was famous. We were at a wedding where one of the cards read out sent best wishes to the happy couple from Paul. The groom had been in his care as a child. He hadn't seen him for 25 years. Paul should be remembered for his kindness. That's the most beautiful message so far. Thank you. Let's talk to Shania Payne, who is a drag queen from Liverpool. And, of course, I guess you've got a different perspective because it goes back to Lily, Shania.
Yeah, of course. Hello, good morning,
Hi.
Good afternoon. I think it's one of those things. I think it's hit the drag community, especially the northern drag community, really, really hard. But I think the whole country, I think everyone thought that every time Lily or Paul was on TV or on the radio, they were in the front room having a cup of tea or a glass of wine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny. Before Lily, the one I best remember was Edna Everage. Now, Edna, obviously a genius persona, but Australian, not homegrown, and completely different.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, and I think for me, and I think I speak for a lot of drag performers, I think Lily really gave, especially me, a reference point to kind of validate what we were doing. In terms of when you were explaining what your job was, you go, well, like Lily Savage does, like Lily does.
Well, the police siren in the background reminds me of the story earlier about the police raiding his club because back in the day it was seen as, it's a gay club, therefore it must be full of crime, and they arrived with rubber gloves on, and he says, are you doing the washing up?
Yeah, well, to go on to that story, when Lily got arrested, they said, what's your name? Lily said, oh, Lily Savage, and said, oh, what's your real name? She got Lily Mae Veronica Savage.
But it's just a reminder, isn't it, that it would have been harder then to do what he did.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm 28, so I only hear stories about those things. But back then, it must have been very difficult. And to be that person at the forefront and on primetime TV in those times, whilst also still being an activist for HIV and for Section 28 and all of these amazing things that I think people kind of forget Paul was a real spokesperson for.
And do you understand why Lily Savage hung her dress up?
I kind of get it. We all have those days where you think, God, I can't put makeup on anymore.
And so, and I suppose he moved on to a different stage, and that was Lily basically done, but never forgotten.
Yeah, never forgotten. I don't think they ever will be forgotten. I've been looking through social media all day today and just all the clips. Like, if anyone gets the chance, anyone that's listening, just go on YouTube and type in Lily Savage outtakes, because they are the best 25 minutes you will ever see in your whole entire life. The acid tongue that everyone fell in love with. It's just
lovely memories. Thank you, Shania Payne, drag queen from Liverpool, inspired by Paul O'Grady in his first iteration as Lily Savage. Bobby in Potter's Bar says Paul O'Grady was the best radio and TV host of all time. Funny, witty, full of charisma. He'd never had a bad word to say about anyone. May he rest in peace. Sandra Carpendale emails, I'm devastated. I loved his northern humour. I'm from Liverpool. He was so funny. Paul was wonderful, from his autobiography, chat shows, Lily Savage, and also, most importantly, for Battersea and his love of dogs. My goodness, they've lost a powerful ambassador there, haven't they? Let us talk to Cheddar Gorgeous, runner-up on Series 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. Hi, Cheddar. Oh, I think you may be on mute. Give that a go. Try and turn that
Well,
off.
you have to do that, don't you? It's for comic effect. You have to be on mute in the initial beginning of the call.
That reminds me of lockdown. So many calls on mute. Listen, pay your tribute, Cheddar, to the brilliant Lily.
Or pay my tribute. You know what? What can you say about such an amazing, just British icon? What I love about Lily is the fact that she was able to do things for the LGBT community. She was an amazing activist, always willing to say the things that people maybe sometimes didn't want to hear but needed to be said. But also she managed to attain mainstream appeal as well. She's a real testament to the versatility of drag as an art form to appeal, whether that's in adult comedy, which she was amazing at, or whether that was as a family entertainer in Panto and all of the wonderful stuff she did on the television.
Listen, we're on the radio, so I've got to describe you, Cheddar. So you look amazing. You've got black lipstick on. You're wearing, it's almost like, I think, a bodice with a very thin, stringy halter around your neck, black eyeshadow, quite goth, and I think you're wearing a bowler hat, but you look like you're backstage somewhere.
We are. We're actually in Australia at the moment with the amazing top four of RuPaul's Drag Race UK, doing a little tour around, and all of us today are reeling from the news, but also we're intending to raise a glass to the wonderful Lily, the amazing Paul O'Grady this evening too.
Oh, that's really moving to hear. And it's funny how you're there, other side of the world, RuPaul's Drag Race, relatively new program, and you can trace it right back to Lily, do you think?
Totally. I mean, she was definitely she's certainly the drag queen that I remember growing up. You know, she was the image that I had of drag in my mind. And really, it's amazing to be part of carrying on that legacy in the UK and beyond.
I'm sensing you've got to go on stage, Cheddar Gorgeous. So we'll thank you, love you, and leave you. Take care.
Mwah. See you later, gorgeous.
Bye-bye. That's a great hook. If you get a chance later on social media, do watch Cheddar in that interview, because I think we'll upload it later on. All right. I just keep thinking what Paul would make of all these wonderful tributes. Dina in Wiltshire, hello. Hey, Dina.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hi.
So tell us about your Paul O'Grady moment.
So I was in hospital. I just had a hysterectomy. All of us on the ward were feeling really, really sorry for ourselves. And this morning came on with Denise Robertson, and Paul O'Grady is Lily Savage, talking about lady problems.
Yeah.
And we were in absolute hysterics and completely lost the plot and ended up having to recover from the effects of all the laughter. He was amazing.
Is that because we all secretly know it's a man dressed as a woman, but somehow when they get on to what they call lady problems, it just makes the joke brilliant? Is that right?
Absolutely. And it was like, yes, I know, I suffer with that as well. And it was just hilarious.
I think now I'm thinking that Edna Everage, I don't know how many times you've seen Edna, who's not on TV so much now, she always used to talk about her gynecologist all the time. Yeah.
But and then obviously went on to do Battersea, and such a promoter for, well-being, looking after people and looking after animals. Absolutely amazing person.
Thanks, Dina.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Joe in Penn, hello.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm well. Now, you're BA British Airways crew, cabin crew, the most important people in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I am.
Have you ever met him on a flight?
I have. And in 34 years, I have to say he's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. He came on board. I can't remember where we were going. With Special Services. He was wonderful. He sat in first class. I looked after him. He was so gracious and lovely, and we got onto the subject of dogs, especially, and rescuing dogs, because my mum, who I'd lost actually the year before, worked for the Dog Trust voluntarily, rescuing dogs. So we got onto that subject, and it made him actually quite tearful, and he just put his arm around me and said in his wonderful accent, which I'm not going to try and do, come on, let's go to Galley and sit down, and I'll make you a cuppa, he said. And he was just... Honestly, I could cry now. He was lovely.
Oh, it's so lovely. No, don't you? Because you started me now. So, what do you think? What do you think it was about Paul that made him love dogs so much? What's the secret?
He was just so human, and he had such a big heart. And I just think animals is probably, a lot of us. They're so innocent, aren't they? And he just wanted to help them, and he did. He really did, and he would be so missed by so many people from all walks of life, won't he?
Shall I play another Cilla Black, his beautiful friend Cilla? Shall we do that?
Yes.
Come on, let's do it. Thanks, Joe.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Orange and yellow and purple and green, orange and purple and blue, red and yellow and pink and green, orange and purple and blue. I can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too. Listen with your eyes, listen with your eyes, and sing everything you see. You can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing along with me. Red and yellow and pink and green, orange and purple and blue. I can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too. Listen with your eyes, please listen with your eyes, and sing everything you see. You can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing along with me. Red and yellow and pink and green, orange and purple and blue. I can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too.
Cilla, in memory of Paul O'Grady. And we'll just extend this a little because we're getting so many lovely messages in about Paul. Enya in Bedworth says, I met him at the National Pet Show a couple of years ago. I told him about my dream of working with dogs. He said, follow your dreams. I then met him at Crufts a couple of years after, and I said, I'm now working with dogs because of what he said. Hugh Roberts from Swansea says, I've got great memories of Paul O'Grady. One time he zipped up the back of my dress while I was getting ready for a drag show. My drag group was known as the Condoms. We did shows to raise money for HIV charities, and Paul was our support act that night as Lily Savage. Paul was a gentle and friendly person who will be sorely missed. Lynn Savage, any relation? In Lancashire, says Paul O'Grady was such an amazingly kind and thoughtful man, a champion for all dogs. My dog Lily was named after him because Savage is also my last name. He will be sorely missed. It's lovely when you get memories of people who just encountered him, ran into him, and found him to be exactly as he was on the air, which is certainly my experience here at Radio 2. Caroline in Merstham in Kent says, I often saw Paul at my local Tesco and in the next village. He was a lovely man to us all. I'm very sad to lose him. Just a couple more. Richie in East Sussex says, I'm devastated to hear he's passed. I saw him back in the 90s in Prisoner Cell Block H, the musical. Then I met him a few days later, but I didn't realise who he was because he was only known as Lily Savage at the time. He was such a gentleman, from everything he did on TV to his Radio 2 Sunday show. Sarah in the Wirral says he was born locally to me. His humour and quick wit were second to none, but his compassion for animals, and particularly dogs, shone like a bright star. And just, this is a lovely one here. Lorna Munro in East Lothian says, I'm devastated at the passing of Paul O'Grady. I'm a dresser at the Edinburgh Playhouse. Only last week I had the pleasure of working with Paul on Annie. He was an absolute joy and I hadn't laughed so much in ages. Paul, you will be missed by so many. Thank you for all your tributes. I've read all the ones that have come in. We really appreciate them.
Face the music and hold your nerve with Radio 2's brand new daily pop quiz.
10 to the top.
Put your music knowledge to the test. It's 10 questions from across the decades in a climb to the top.
All right, let's go.
But get a question wrong.
Oh, what have you done to me?
And everything changes. How are you finding it?
I'm nerve-wracking.
Take on 10 to the top.
I'm going for it.
I'm very ready, yeah.
Listen and play along weekdays at 10:30 on Radio 2 or just search 10 to the top now on BBC Sounds.
Thank you, Gary Davis. Now, let's move on to a different subject. And Amsterdam have made some campaign videos. You won't believe this. It's basically to tell young British men not to come to the city. So I'll play you some audio. The campaign is called Stay Away. And you now see a young man who's clearly drunk swearing at the police. He's arrested, bundled into a police car, and his fingerprints are taken. We now see him locked in a cell. And the visuals are accompanied by the following captions. Coming to Amsterdam for a messy night, getting trashed, you'll be fined and have a criminal record. So thinking of coming to Amsterdam for a messy night, stay away. And they've launched the campaign targeting young British men because they say they're particularly bad, Italian men as well, interestingly, particularly bad for drugs, booze and general awful behaviour. 20 million people visit the city each year. Residents are saying that particularly drunken Brits are awful, urinating in public, throwing up in canals, fighting, stripping off and terrorising the red light district. But is it fair to single them out? There are plenty of 20-year-old British men who might want to go and see galleries in Amsterdam. They're not interested in urinating on anybody, and they're effectively banned. What do you think? Do you wish you could dissuade rowdy visitors from disrupting your area? Do you know how Amsterdam feels about this? Do email vine@bbc.co.uk. And let's go to somebody who lived in the centre of the city, Amsterdam, for 35 years. Sarah Van Dyke listens to this show. And actually, Sarah, you've got direct experience of all this.
Yes, I do. Hello, Jeremy.
Hi. So I didn't realise, but you moved out, did you?
Yes, I did. I think a lot of people who actually lived in the centre of Amsterdam decided to move out of the city because of it.
So what was happening?
Well, I would live around the corner of the red light district and, have a dog. I would walk my dog in the evenings and would be proposed by, men how much I was, stuff like that. Or they would puke in my front garden or pee against my front door, even stick their private parts through my mailbox. I slept with a wooden spoon under my pillow so I could slam the door at night, saying, "Your carrot will be next."
So somebody inserted their private part through your letterbox?
Yes, wasn't the mailman. It's, usually very drunk young men, and most of them were actually English.
Well, this is the thing. If it's just drunk young men generally, then, OK, that may be part of life. But if it's drunk young British men, then that is a concern here. And you think they were mainly, were they?
Yeah, I think, here in Holland, if you drink more than 3 alcoholic beverages a week, you are considered to be an alcoholic. And for some of these British guys, it seems that's what you drink before you go on a night out.
Yeah. God.
So,
but 3 drinks a week is an alcoholic in Holland, is it? That's something.
Yes, it is. And, we would have stuff for the tourists here in Amsterdam, like a beer bicycle, 12 men on the bicycle that has a tap on it and they're drinking beer. And they would, drive straight to the canals and then drown because they can't swim.
Yeah.
And stuff like that would happen all the time. And, for people to live actually in these town centres, it seems like, I don't know, it somehow changed somewhere after the 80s or something.
Yeah, I'm very sad if you had to move out. So you're in a quieter neighbourhood now, are you?
I actually moved out to town to a city that's only 20 minutes from Amsterdam called Haarlem. And it's lovely. It's a bit like Amsterdam used to be in the old days.
Is Amsterdam, has it been changed then irreparably, do you think, by these stag parties?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it has. There's a lot of open drunkenness on the streets, and of course Amsterdam. It's a beautiful town, like you said. It has beautiful museums and art galleries and everything, and it's it's lovely. But it's just not to walk after dark. It's just not so nice anymore there. It's just not safe.
Can you give me any guess as to why the men tend to be British?
I don't know. It's like, the thing I don't understand, going to a red light district used to be something in the old days you would do, in secret. You wouldn't boast about it to your friends or, your mother. And nowadays, I don't know why it has changed. That's something, that's good for a laugh. And I think the problem with the British, because I love the British, no problem whatsoever. But there seems to be a real problem with alcohol. And, it's like you have to drink when you go on a night out, or you have to use drugs. I mean, I live in Amsterdam. I've never used drugs. I don't drink alcohol. So, you don't have to have fun on an evening out.
Sure.
Doing just that. You can have fun, without it.
Of course.
And behave.
Thank you, Sarah. How nice to talk to you. You are now our official Holland correspondent. How's that?
It seems so.
You take care.
Always lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you. Sarah Van Dijk is now in Haarlem. Haarlem in the Netherlands as opposed to Amsterdam, which was full of drunken Brits. God, it's miserable, this, isn't it?
About the Virgin Mary, reminded me of you. The expectation left to come up to you. Lady right on the TV. Yeah, she had another quality. The way you used to look. And I know you never read a book. Just
Straits talking about Amsterdam and their explicit instructions to young British men to stay away from the city. I can't remember any story like this before. Piers in Poole says, I can understand why they've done it. I live near Bournemouth. I used to go out there in the 90s. It was rough then, but it's like a war zone at night now. I went to a stag do in Amsterdam in the 90s. Lovely place. We were most definitely not teetotal while we were there, but we were behaving as best we could. Jill near Bude says, if you want to see bad behaviour, come to Cornwall and visit the likes of Rock or Polzeath. All the trust fund kids get dropped off by mummy and daddy with an Amex card and their entitled attitude. Drunk, badly behaved and rude to hospitality staff. Money doesn't give you class. So true. Just the ability to get drunk and insensible on more expensive booze. Aren't they called, if they're on trust funds, aren't they called trustafarians? I heard that term is now used for people who are basically on a sort of parental stipend and don't have to worry. Joe emails, we've got Butlins in our beautiful seaside town of Minehead. Half the weekends of the year are adult only. Only last weekend I witnessed a man urinating in a closed shop doorway at 2 p.m. So we're asking, has your town become like Amsterdam? Barbara Taylor in Yeovil says, for years we've avoided Brits abroad as they've made us feel ashamed to be British. Yeah, we've all seen it, haven't we? You go somewhere really nice and the loudest table is the British lads. Tristan Galloway in London says, this is nothing new. We are a disgrace. It's about time these places started saying no instead of accepting it. Ben in Southampton, this is embarrassing. It's national embarrassment time, isn't it?
Yes, it is, definitely. I've been to Amsterdam myself, and me and my friends went there, and like one of your previous texts had said, had a couple of drinks, enjoyed ourselves, enjoyed the other narcotics that they have going there that are illegal. But, we were just calm. We went to see a museum, went to the Anne Frank Museum, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to get drunk and kick off and get Larry.
Yeah, so now they're doing the latter. They're getting drunk and kicking off and being Larry, and we hear reports of fighting and people cycling into canals as if that's funny. What is it, lad culture?
Yeah, it's this lad culture. It's this, drink as much as you can, lads, oi, 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 sort of thing that you get. And it happens all over cities in the UK as well. I'm from Manchester originally, and it's Manchester on a Saturday night is awful in the town centre.
Thank you, Ben. Nikki's on the line. You're in Amsterdam, Nikki. So you're watching the Netherlands as a British expat, right?
Hi, Jeremy. Yes, I am, and I have to say that I was surprised to hear the news today because I wasn't aware that was happening, but I'm aware of the flip side of it. Things have been going on here with the Mayor of Amsterdam, and they're actually trying to just clamp down on everything and move the red light centre out of the city to take away just the congestion and this problem. But it is embarrassing with the English groups.
And what is it? It's young guys, a sort of, I don't even want to characterise them, but I sort of can imagine a group of 5 or 6 young men on a stag night who've got lagered up might not be restrained at all.
Yeah, it's. It's not everybody. Don't get us wrong. It's not every tourist that comes here, but there does seem to be that sort of age range, which is young British lads that are causing the problems.
Why isn't it young Spanish? Why isn't it young Portuguese? Why isn't it young Estonians? Why isn't it young Germans? Why isn't it young whatever?
Because I think in the whole of Europe, the UK has the worst reputation for alcohol, basically.
Because we're Vikings or what? Have we got some Norse thing going on? I don't know what it is. I really don't know.
Get the jokes out.
Well, yeah, it's all that stuff.
But you add alcohol into the mix with drugs here, which actually, by the way, everybody thinks it's legal. It's actually not legal. But the government kind of do a little bit hands over the eyes thing here. But put those two together, and the drugs here are so strong. People just, if they're not used to it, mixing that with alcohol. People are throwing bikes in the canals. People are falling in the canals because they're urinating into the water. And when the football's on, it's awful. The red light district, the riot vans are in there now, shut the whole place down because the streets are so narrow. It's like really little twisty, windy streets, and people live there. You know.
But you're Geordie, right? I can hear in your accent.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So you've got, and I because I was at university in Durham, I used to go into the centre of Newcastle, and the big market is legendary for, in winter, people wearing miniskirts. Do you think Amsterdam and could give the big market a run for its money now?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
100%. Yeah, and there's nicer weather here, so there really is no need for coats. But
thank you, dear. Let's play this new song from Bebe Rexha. At least the big market was sort of designed for that. It's different when it's the centre of Amsterdam.
My heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants till it doesn't. I can't promise you love, it was love, it was love, it was love till it wasn't. Oh, already met a man like you, already seen all of your moves. One step ahead, I'm on to you. I feel nothing when we're loving, when we're touching. So go ahead and cry your river. You can go and feel the sea. Don't you know that you're just a game to me? My heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants till it doesn't. I can't promise you love, it was love, it was love, it was love till it wasn't. Oh, so good till I get enough, so good till I give it up, so good but my heart's all on you. 'Cause my heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants till it doesn't. I've done it all along the page. There's just so many ways a heart can break. Can't hold a candle in the rain. I feel nothing when we're touching, when we're loving. So go ahead and cry your river. You can go and feel the sea. Don't you know that you're just a game to me? My heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants till it doesn't. I can't promise you love, it was love, it was love, it was love till it wasn't. So good till I get enough, so good till I give it up, so good but my heart's all on you. 'Cause my heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants till it doesn't. And it don't want you.
Bebe Rexha, let's talk to Cy in Leeds quickly about Amsterdam. You think this is a party city, Cy?
There's three main famous things for Amsterdam for me.
Yes.
The red light area, Anne Frank Museum, and legalised smoking joints.
Right.
So what
In
do you
that
think,
order.
What do you think young men are going to go there for?
Well, you'd hope they'd go to all
Really?
three.
Well, yeah, but they're going to go for all three. So, they need to stop the red light area and smoking joints if they don't want them to do that.
So you think they've brought on these parties in a way?
Well, it's renowned for that. I mean, look at the film Pulp Fiction. With Samuel L. Jackson quoting that it's legalised to smoke joints in Amsterdam. I mean, it's worldwide renowned for them pastimes. So
When did you last go there for a party?
This was my friend's 40th birthday, and he's about 57 now.
Okay, so 15 years, because it might have been ruined since then. I don't know.
It might have been, yeah. And that Geordie lass that was on last, the way she describes it makes me want to go there again, to be honest.
There's something about this item.
But, I might be a bit too old for all the short skirts and that, but yeah, I'd still
Well, I
want to
think,
go
yeah,
there.
you can save money by going to the big market. Si, thank you. Okay, the other view. We also...
Paulo Grady as well, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Paul.
I know, love him to bits.
Yeah. Thank you, Si. Thank you.
You take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Dave in Hampshire says, as soon as you get out the train station in Amsterdam, people try to sell you drugs. Amsterdam needs to clean itself up. It creates its own problems. When I went, we didn't visit the red light district. Wonder if it rained.
Woke up one morning half asleep with all my blankets in a heap and yellow roses scattered all around. The time was still approaching, for I couldn't stand it anymore. So Mary goes upon my eider down. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain making the garden grow. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain keeping me cool. So I lay upon my side with all the windows open wide, couldn't pressurize my head from speaking. Hoping not to make a sound, I pushed my bed into the ground in time to catch the sight that I was seeking. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain making the garden grow. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain keeping me cool. If this perfect pleasure has the key, then this is how it has to be. If my pillow is getting wet, I don't see that it matters much to me. I heard the flowers in the breeze make conversation with the trees, really to leave reality behind me. With my commitments in a mess, my sleep has gone away depressed. In a world of fantasy, you'll find me. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain making the garden grow. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain, feel the power of the rain keeping me good.
Whenever I play this record, I'm pretty sure it was the first record played on Radio 1, wasn't it? By Tony in 1967. Natalie says York is vile on a Saturday afternoon. I can't take my kids into town on a Saturday. Come 1 p.m, all you see in York is drunk people stumbling around. All right, more coming. Radio 2 Smart Speaker Sounds app and 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Justine Green. Tributes are pouring in for Paul O'Grady, who's died suddenly. The government announces plans to house asylum seekers in disused military bases, and a teenage boy is packing up his tent after 1,000 nights under the stars for charity. Tributes from the worlds of music, comedy and the royal family are being paid to Paul O'Grady, who's died at the age of 67. The former Radio 2 presenter's husband said he died unexpectedly but peacefully last night. In a post on Instagram, Sir Elton John thanked him for all the joy he brought into the world. The Queen Consort Camilla, who worked with Mr O'Grady through their support of Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, said he had a warm heart and infectious humour. Pete Price is a long-time friend of the former drag queen. He told Jeremy Vine that Paul O'Grady was a man of many talents.
He was a legend, and what he's done for entertainment and for people and for animals is just remarkable. And he is a remarkable man. I've known him for many, many years. He brought a new way of life to drag act. He was hysterically funny, but he was also very clever.
Shania Payne works as a drag queen in Liverpool and paid tribute to Paul O'Grady's work for the LGBTQ+ community throughout his career.
It must have been very difficult, and to be that person at the forefront and on primetime TV in those times, whilst also still being an activist for, HIV and for Section 28 and all of these amazing things that I think people kind of forget Paul was a real spokesperson for.
Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick has announced plans to house asylum seekers in disused military bases in Essex and Lincolnshire and a separate site in East Sussex. He told the Commons that the government is also exploring the possibility of using vessels at sea. The Refugee Council has described the proposals as entirely unsuitable. But Mr Jenrick insisted the use of military bases was in the national interest.
We have to deliver them if we're to stop the use of hotels. We have to deliver them to save the British public from spending eye-watering amounts accommodating illegal migrants. And we have to deliver them to prevent a pull factor for economic migrants on the continent taking hold.
Elon Musk and Apple's co-founder Steve Wozniak are among some of the biggest names in global technology who've signed an open letter saying powerful artificial intelligence systems should only be further developed once there's confidence that the effects will be positive. They say recent advances in AI present profound risks to society. The King is due to arrive in Germany shortly for the first state visit of his reign. His trip was originally due to begin in France last weekend, but protests there against raising the pension age meant that leg of the visit was delayed. Our royal correspondent Daniela Relf reports from Berlin.
With France postponed, Germany gets to host the King's first state visit, and it'll be laying on all its pomp and pageantry. This afternoon, a ceremonial welcome for the King and Queen consort at the Brandenburg Gate, the first post-war head of state to be given that honour. Tonight, a white tie state banquet, where some of the King's German cousins are expected to attend. Diplomatically, the King's first state visit is a useful tool for the government, a chance to shore up post-Brexit Anglo-German relations.
Humza Yousaf has been formally sworn in as the First Minister of Scotland after replacing Nicola Sturgeon as leader of the SNP. He will now start appointing his cabinet. The owner of British Gas says it's introducing new lower prices for customers on prepayment meters from Saturday. Thousands of customers should get a small reduction in their gas bills when charges are brought in line with those paying by direct debit. A 13-year-old boy who slept in a tent in his garden every night for the past 3 years to raise money for a local hospice has set a Guinness World Record for the largest sum raised for charity by camping. Max Woozy first pitched his tent in 2020 with the aim of raising £100 for the North Devon Hospice. Donations have now reached £700,000. Max, who's become known as Tent Boy, has now decided to move back to his bedroom. He spoke to the BBC earlier alongside his mum Rachel Woozy, who's happy the tent is coming down.
A very different beast is coming back in the house. I look back at these pictures of this little 10-year-old and it's been fascinating watching him grow. Not just physically.
Well, he's done that as well.
He's certainly done that. But no, it has been lovely to watch, but I'm very grateful it's coming to an end now.
Well, you've wanted it to come to an end since day one. You've never liked the camping.
I don't think it's any secret.
And on the weather, it will be unsettled and breezy this afternoon. There'll be heavy showers in West Scotland, Wales and southwest England. Northern Ireland will have sunshine and thundery showers. Highs of 12 Celsius in Edinburgh, 14 in Cardiff and 15 in Belfast and London. BBC News, it's 1:05.
Hello.
Listen live on the BBC Sounds app.
This hour, AI and gardening, but not at the same time. Duran, the government has set out new plans to regulate artificial intelligence. A draft bill proposes rules for the responsible use of the technologies and outlines 5 principles that companies should follow. We're talking about AI, computer systems that can carry out tasks that normally would require human intelligence. And there's a lot going on. You heard on the news Elon Musk and some other tech chiefs saying we need to be careful here. It's moving faster than we were expecting. There's now a thing, of course, called ChatGPT, which has been basically you ask it to write something, it writes it. We've got school pupils using it for essays, people asking for veterinary advice for sick pets, writing poetry. Google has then released its rival to ChatGPT this month, which is called Bard. It's not just text either. AI can write songs, recreate voices, and create fake images. And just last weekend, a fake photograph of the Pope wearing a white puffy jacket went viral online. It took me in. It was completely generated by AI. It wasn't real. Levi's then yesterday said they're now using AI models to make their website more diverse. So there's a lot going on. And the question here is whether you're worried. Are you worried that it's going to come for your job? A robot can now drive a car, arguably more safely than a human being can. A robot can even pass the exams that trainee lawyers have to take. So why can't you have a qualified AI bot as a lawyer? Love your thoughts. Vine@bbc.co.uk is the email. Please include your phone number. Text us 88291 and the WhatsApp number is the long one, 08000 288 291, which you should only have to input into your smartphone once. Maybe you're thinking you're in the one job that's safe. You know, the person who drives around with newspapers throwing them at letterboxes. That maybe cycling around the paper round might be safe. No, that's gone. You tell us. We'll speak in a moment to a brilliant professor of computer science. But first, Zoe Kleiman, our technology editor. It's all happening in the last 24 hours, Zoe.
It has really exploded, hasn't it? The AI sector has been sort of bubbling away in the background for years. And I think everyone thought it was, slowly moving along, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. And then suddenly we had ChatGPT launch at the end of November. And I feel like ever since then, it's just been headline after headline, one thing after another, because now, after all these years of research and development, this stuff is ready. And it's alarmingly good at what it does, even though it's still got a long way to go.
Tell us about the letter from Elon Musk and co.
So you've got to bear in mind, Elon Musk is a controversial figure, I think it's fair to say, but he is also, for many people, a tech visionary. But he has always been very cautious about AI, and he's always said he thinks it could potentially be bad news for humans. Now, why is that? Well, there are lots of reasons why AI isn't perfect, and there are loads of examples of it exhibiting bias, and that is because basically the way it works is an algorithm is trained on a huge amount of data. So let's say, I'll give you a really basic example. You want to train an algorithm to recognize pictures of human hands, right? You might give it 1 million pictures of hands that you find on the internet, and you feed them all in and you go, there you go, that's a hand. Anything you ever look at that looks like that, that is a hand. And it will pick them out. This actually happened a few years ago. And what the researchers didn't notice was that a lot of the hands, the generic hand pictures that were on the internet, were all white. They were all white people's hands. There weren't really that many black people's hands, Asian people's hands. So when the algorithm was confronted with a picture of a black hand, it just didn't recognize it, didn't know what it was, because it had never seen one in that color before. And that was a really early example. Now, you might say, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. And you're right, it doesn't. But if you think about that at a greater level, you can't have these things trained on data that just don't recognize huge chunks of the population.
But the thing that AI has is incredible memory. It can remember every single chess move that's ever been played. And I suppose we're already seeing with driving where, AI will know about every vehicle in the city. It will find its way around the city quicker and better. And some things, I guess, we have to expect that humans are going to have to vacate their seat.
With driverless cars, we are way behind in the UK in the driverless car race, if there is such a thing. They've done millions of miles on the roads in the US. In China, there are already fully driverless taxis that you can hire using an app. You can pick up and grab a ride in Beijing. We just don't have them here because we don't trust them fully. We are pretty right, I think, to be cautious about it. They use loads of sensors. They communicate with each other. They communicate with the street furniture. They're building up a continuous picture of what's going on the roads and what's going on around them. But of course, there is no human control. Some people say that the most dangerous point will be when we've got, half driverless cars and half human drivers. The insurance claims are going to be an absolute nightmare, aren't they? But, thinking
human
about
drivers
it,
are quite dangerous, aren't they? I mean, surely computers are not going to kill 5 people a day.
Well, the statistics suggest that driverless cars are safer than humans. I can't remember off the top of my head what the figures are, but, if you take per 1,000 cars, how many of them are likely to have an accident? There will always be accidents. It's unavoidable, but there are fewer by driverless cars. And I know in the early days it was generally because people were looking at the car and going, "Oh my God, look at that! There's no driver," and then driving straight into it because they weren't concentrating.
I was going to say, just as an addition to that, I was in a minicab about 3 days ago, and we were travelling west, and we were in a bit of a jam. And it was rolling forwards, as cars do. And the guy suddenly just slammed his foot on the brake, and I said, "Wow, what was going on there?" I thought he just braked too hard. He said, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was the AI." So for some reason, the computer has an override, and it will jam the brake on if it senses he's too close to the car in front. But it was quite an imprecise move, actually.
Yeah, and it can be quite dangerous. And lots of people say, I've been in a couple of driverless cars, and, they're very boring to be in because they're very, very cautious. And that, in a way, makes them dangerous. A human driver would sort of judge that they'd be able to get over a light. A driverless car won't take that chance. It will just stop. And it surprises everybody else who thinks they're going to get over the light. So actually, they are slightly erring too much on the side of caution, I think. And that in itself can cause accidents, certainly. But modern cars are more like, I've got a fairly new car, about 3 years old, I think my car is. It's more computer than car. It could drive itself, I'm pretty sure, without me having to do a great deal.
Well, and away from cars, where else are the key areas where AI is going to suddenly transform things? Medicine, firefighting, where?
I mean, in theory, everywhere. There was a report that came out yesterday, Jeremy, which said that 300 million jobs in Europe alone will probably be either partly or at least half automated within the next few years. We've seen it happen already. We see robots making cars. We see robots packing grocery orders in warehouses. We've seen that sort of sector already be hit by this. But I think what's coming next is the office job. I saw a really interesting presentation recently. Microsoft, which has invested billions in ChatGPT, has put the tech behind it into the Office suite, so into PowerPoint, into Excel, into Word. And you can just, you can put a prompt into PowerPoint and say, make me a PowerPoint about, this boring report that I've got to go through. Here it is. And it will generate you a very pretty and easy to use PowerPoint presentation in a few seconds. Now, obviously, you probably need to check it. You wouldn't want to just present it without having looked at it first, but it's pretty good. And Microsoft says, we want to take the drudgery out of office work. Why do you want to spend all day making that PowerPoint? You don't. It frees you up to do something else. But the problem is, what if there isn't anything else to do? Because all of the AI is doing all of that too.
Thank you very much, Zoe Kleinman, Technology Editor. Dame Wendy Hall is a Professor of Computer Science at Southampton University and co-chaired the UK government's AI review in 2017. And 2017 must feel like a lifetime ago, Wendy.
Well, actually, yes, in some ways, but other ways, we're seeing the fruits of some of that work now, which is fabulous. And the fact that, we are nowhere near AI that's going to replace us. We're not nowhere near artificial general intelligence. It's interesting, the letter from Elon Musk about slowing things down. He originally funded OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. But it is going very fast. But what I like, it's scary. We need to be cautious, but we're not in imminent danger at the moment. We need to prepare for times when AI does get more intelligent. At the moment, it's still rather dumb. It can just do a lot of things with lots of data.
Well, we had a mum call us a couple of weeks ago who said that she discovered her son, who's about 14, was using AI to do all his school essays, and she was horrified. And then she said, surely they know it's not you because it's all perfect spelling and grammar. And he said, no, there's a setting where you can introduce some human errors in spelling and paragraphing. So that's quite advanced, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't understand what it's doing. However, there is an issue in education that, same in universities, where we need to embrace the technology because, do you remember, when calculators were introduced, I can remember going to workshops about how awful it was that kids were going to use calculators and not do the arithmetic themselves. We wouldn't even think about that today. So education has to embrace it and use it and encourage children to use it, but in a responsible way, right?
Yeah,
And,
I'm trying to think where AI is going to suddenly arrive and we're just going to be gobsmacked. Where is that going to happen? Is it going to be... So I'm already aware that if I'm online at my bank or something and I need some help and I go on the chat forum, I've got a machine talking to me pretending to be human, and I hate that.
Oh, so do I. I absolutely loathe it. And I had the same experience as you in an automated car. And I think that we have to... what we've got to do is develop the AI in a way that helps us do what we want to do, augments for us, and so helps us do jobs. And I think it would be wonderful to have it. The AI regulation report that came out this morning from the UK government, which is what a lot of the fuss is about, how do we regulate AI? And the UK has just put forward its approach. It's all about how, that's a 98-page document, right, that came out this morning. Wouldn't it be wonderful to say to a technology like GPT, summarize that for me in a way that I can go on radio at 1 o'clock and talk about it? That's something quite... we'd love that. We all use Google and Wikipedia all the time. These things are the next advance in technology. What's different now is that we can engage with it in a way that makes you realize what AI might be possible of doing. And I think that really helps the conversation, the sort of conversation we're having now. People can relate to and start to think about A, the opportunities, and B, the threats, and how do we deal with it going forward.
Thank you very much, Professor Wendy Hall, computer science professor, intelligence, whether it's going to take our jobs. You'll love this, an email to Richard Madeley's advice column in The Telegraph, where Richard works as the agony uncle. They had a letter from a guy called Christian, and it said this.
I used AI software to write a Valentine's Day poem for my girlfriend. I told it her name, eye colour, and a few other things about her. I thought it would be terrible, and we'd have a bit of a giggle together. But unfortunately, she opened the envelope, read the poem, and immediately burst into tears. She said, "This is so beautiful. Nobody's ever really understood me before." So now I'm in a bind. I don't know when or if to confess. What should I do?
What about that for a letter to Richard Madeley, somebody whose girlfriend got a poem written by AI and it moved her beyond words? Layla in South West Wales, let's think about jobs here. You're a school caretaker.
I am, yes.
And do you do road crossing patrolling as well?
Yes, so I do that twice a day, in the morning and at 3:30, yeah.
But you can't have AI with a lollipop, can you? That's not going to work.
Well, you think that, wouldn't you? But, I do have visions of this little robot wheeling out into the road with a stop sign. Would we listen to it?
I suppose the drivers tend to respect the lollipop, if I can use that word, if it's held by a human. Whether they would respect it if it was wheeled across on a box with a trolley underneath it, I don't know.
Well, let's hope not.
You sound a bit worried.
I do, yeah. Well, because I was saying, because I'm not retired, but a lot of the people use it as a retirement to top up their wages, their pension. So let's hope we manage to keep all the lollipop crossing and keep the children safe, isn't it?
Sure. And I do notice on some of the online shopping sites that you can now get vacuum cleaners which patrol a property during the night. So they have now got round the problem of stairs apparently with them as well. So you simply leave it and it will go round and round and round, and by the morning everything's clean. Does that worry you?
No, because my dogs would have a whale of a time chasing that round. None of us would have any sleep.
Okay, but I was thinking more about the school. If the school got one of those.
Well, yes. Well, would it manage to pick up paper and pencil sharpening, shavings? Would
No.
it manage that?
No, and it would also get hit by a piece of gum at some point, I think,
A
as well.
piece of gum. Blue tack is we don't have gum in school, but blue tack is always stuck on the floor.
That will kill it. Yeah, thank you. Well, there's going to be another 10 years while they deal with that. Thank you so much, Leila. Graham Atkins is a chimney sweep in Lincoln. Okay, we've spoken before, Graham. Now, there's a job. I'm just trying to think. You're never going to get an AI chimney sweep, are you?
Hello, Jeremy. Yeah, it's nice to be on the show again. Yeah, if you can get any AI machine to take the baffle plate out of a little Wenlock or a Contura 510, then I look forward to it. I look forward to it trying to do that. It'll be very entertaining. Not that you know what I'm talking about, but every other chimney sweep will.
I don't know, but I'm fascinated. But the thing that AI would do, I think, is it would do all the work that goes on at home or in the office to do with taking calls and advising people and saying when you're free and helping with your diary. So whatever the administration job is, you can lose that now.
No, definitely not. You've always got to have that personal touch. It's just too wide open. I can see AI probably driving cars, trains, planes, but there's always a human there looking after that just in case it blows a fuse. But, I mean, there's chimney sweeps. We've come a long way in the last 250 years, not in putting little boys and girls up chimneys. So I think we're doing quite well as it is.
Thank you, Graham. Charles in Newcastle says it's not just the unskilled and the semi-skilled whose jobs are under threat. Technology, AI and robots are outperforming doctors and surgeons on many healthcare treatments now.
On BBC iPlayer.
I'm here for one thing, vengeance.
From the writer of Peaky Blinders.
Throw the boy to the wild beasts of this city.
Starring Olivia Colman.
So, Pip, are you in love with her yet?
I told you my intention is not to fall in love.
Love is not always the result of intention.
I will teach you how to be a gentleman.
That is who I am now. That is who I have to be.
Great Expectations.
And so it begins.
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
Let's play the Chai Lights. Then let's have a couple more calls on AI, then Bobby, and then how gardening can help your mental health.
Seems to be a misunderstanding about who you belong to. I'm tired of he say, she say, and who shot John. I don't know where he came from, but he better go back where he's been. 'Cause I don't want my heart broken, don't want to commit no sin.
My soul on fire.
Don't you know that I'll never be the same? No, don't you know?
highlights Are You My Woman? We are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and what on earth becomes of us all if it takes over. And it's one of those things where, because there's a film about 20 years ago called AI, wasn't there? And that was about a young boy, I think, who turned out to be robotic. And there's a thought, people, if you want to have a child, you can have a robot. That doesn't work, does it? We're human beings, for crying out loud. But maybe other things could be done by robots, and they are getting more and more capable of doing them. Andrew in Ayrshire says, I'm a truck driver. AI can't take my job. If there's an unexpected obstacle that means at the last minute I have to drive into it and kill myself, or swerve and kill 10 people at a bus stop, that's my moral judgment. And that's a very good point, Andrew. There's obviously, you would, I guess, being a heroic individual, you'd probably swerve into it and take your own life. But they did it with planes. They said, what happens if a plane is crashing and a robot's in control of it, and it has to choose between crashing on a school with 30 pupils and crashing on an old people's home with 30 old people in it. And the robot is thinking about it for ages. Can't work out what to do. You've got to program it. I'm not going to say what the answer is. Peter in South Norfolk says, my job is safe. I'm a massage therapist and I help my clients de-stress from the stresses brought on by using their PCs and their smartphones and the pressure from today's lifestyle. I think you're right, physiotherapy, psychotherapy, massage, all those things. I think they're safe. Let's see, Rachel in Hampshire. You're a part-time teacher, so you're already seeing the chatbots.
Absolutely, Jeremy. I'm so glad you're covering this subject, because it is, in education, something we are really excited about, but we know we need to adapt with. I mean, without question, some of our students are using chatbots like ChatGPT to write essays. So in terms of your traditional homework and sending kids home with essays to do, you can't necessarily trust that that's their work. As your previous caller said, they can even write in spelling errors. So checking things like plagiarism is going to be really challenging.
Could you not, but as a teacher, you know your pupils, and if an E-grade student suddenly comes up with an A-starred essay, it's ChatGPT, right?
Well, you've got certainly some massive red flags there. I mean, you couldn't automatically blame a chatbot. It could be a parent getting involved. You just don't know. That would be a really obvious example. But in terms of our personal skills, we are going to have to adapt to this. And I think face-to-face teaching is always going to be important in students' life. I just think we need to embrace this technology. We have so much paperwork as teachers. This can do things like lesson planning, which is going to save us so much time.
Very good point. Thank you, Rachel. Have a great day. Cheers. Nick in Stoke-on-Trent. Hi.
Hi there, Jeremy.
You do a brilliant job. You make pizza ovens from recycled pottery. Perfect for Stoke.
Yes. Well, it's not the pottery itself. It's what they fire the pottery on, the kiln furniture.
Oh, okay.
So that's discarded after a couple of uses. So we take that, crush it down and make pizza ovens out of them.
So really, is it the kiln, the interior of the kiln only works for a couple of days, does it?
No, not the interior of the kiln. They set the plates on what's called kiln furniture so they can stack it up.
I see.
And then just in case it breaks, they have to discard it because it destroys thousands of pounds worth of wear.
I see.
So that's right on our doorstep. And 10 years ago, I had a mad idea that we could turn it into pizza ovens, and we've sold about 4,000 now. You, sir, are a genius. That is the best. I hope you've been on Dragon's Den or whatnot. That's the most amazing idea. And what a brilliant, I guess the stuff was just being thrown away before, was it? It does get recycled, but obviously it's a limited uses. So it's not totally discarded, but, we just found a niche market for it at a time when Jamie Oliver was making pizza ovens popular.
Oh, yeah. Do you know, for the first time I had a wood-fired pizza at the weekend. I mean, I was staying somewhere where they had one of those ovens outside. It was a lot of fun getting it burning and getting it hot and making the pizza and putting it in. So it was a lovely thing, actually. You're quite right.
Yeah, we've got some quite famous people that have bought off them. I won't mention names.
Brilliant. But, and you supplied how many?
Around about 4,000 now.
So I think you leave aside what the work you're doing. The actual idea you had, I think only a human being can have. Because I think it could be a chat GPT or computer or bot or bard or whatever. It's not able to sit and think.
Well, when I first mentioned it 10 years ago to friends and people and relatives, they laughed at me.
Yeah.
And now half the pub have got pizza ovens.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, there we are. There'll always be human ingenuity. I suppose maybe ChatGPT could take the orders or whatever, but nothing more than that.
Well, we have used a little bit to write blogs, but when you know what you're on about, you can spot the mistakes. It's not got that human touch yet. It's fine for some things, but, the enjoyment part of life, I think it should be left alone.
Thank you, Nick. Congratulations. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Rhys Owen says, I'm a college lecturer. Students have already lost the art of conversation. They're obsessed with their phones. If AI comes along, what kind of young people are we going to produce in the future? This frightens me. Luca in Kettering says, I use it and it has helped our business tremendously. We talk to it like a human. It understands. It gives mostly accurate solutions. I want to know what business she does. I'm guessing Luca isn't a chimney sweep. It's sped up our tasks, research and development across clients' websites and marketing. It is like a virtual colleague. Rose says, I've been using ChatGPT to apply for jobs. No luck yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if I get a job using AI to help me write my cover letter and provide answers for competence-based interview questions. Michael in Southend is not worried. He says, bring on the AI revolution. It frees humans up to enjoy life and to better ourselves. I go to work. It gives me purpose. It allows me to feel a reward for what I do. It pays my mortgage. It allows me to live. But if an AI bot replaces my job, how can I live? He suddenly had second thoughts at the end there. Maybe that comment was written by a computer. Stone and Supernature. And, well, we're all very sad today, Bobby, aren't we, about Paul O'Grady?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing
so many
man.
good memories.
Yeah. I just saw something on Twitter of somebody saying that when he worked at Channel 4 doing his chat show, which was a real breakthrough moment for Tea Time TV, he insisted that if there were any new jobs coming up, they should be advertised at the local job centre.
Isn't
that great? And they said that actually it made the show better because they got a much wider range of people in. Over to you with the travel.
Now there's a thought, Jeremy. A1M, if you're heading on the southbound side, exit Slit Road at junction 35 for the M18. We've got a breakdown. So you've got one lane shut. M62 on the westbound side, you've got a broken down lorry, 37 Howden to 36 at Gould. So one lane is closed there. To the M6 on the northbound side. Now, if you're heading between 3 and 3A, just past Cawley Services, we had an accident. Now they've actually moved it, just lifted the restrictions, but you've still got slow traffic. A45 at Upper Hayford, we've got it blocked completely. Accident between the service station at Upper Hayford and the A5 at Weedon, so it's blocked completely in both directions. Conway, we've got the A55, got a breakdown near junction 15 on the roundabout. The M25 on the anti-clockwise side at 6 for Godstone. Take care, got a breakdown. We've got a lane out there. M3 on the southbound side, just near to 14, we've got a broken down lorry. The queue's about to 13 at Chandler's Ford. And the North Circular, the A406 at Arnos Grove. On the westbound side, closed completely. Accident between the Bowes Road and Station Road. It's causing queues back to the 4th Street Tunnel. Blackheath, now the latest on the A2 route. On the eastbound side, we've got it closed completely. So it's closed from the A207. That is Shooters Hill Road, the Sun in the Sands roundabout, through towards the Falcon interchange. So that's causing massive disruption. Also Beaconsfield, the A355, the Amersham Road, closed completely. Accident at Lebra Lane. M4 westbound, they're holding the traffic at 18 for Bath because of an accident. And just an update on the rails, because Elizabeth Line, we had an earlier line side fire at Maidenhead, so no service between Maidenhead and Reading. Also, Great Western Railways, we've got delays of 60 minutes and cancellations between Maidenhead and Marlow because of this line side fire. And finally, cross-country services suspended between Leamington Spa and Oxford, and this is because of emergency services dealing with an incident. Back with another one in about 45 minutes.
Thank you, Bobby.
It's time to don your best outfit and take to your seat for one massive night of musical theatre.
Radio 2 at the big night of musicals with Jason Manford.
We've got 13 dazzling live performances from some of the biggest West End and touring shows, including Six the Musical, Ain't Too Proud and The Bodyguard. And stage stars Samantha Barks and Leighton Williams will be bringing you exclusive backstage access and all the gossip from the dressing rooms.
Radio 2 at the big night of musicals.
Listen now on BBC Sounds.
Here's the question: can gardening help your mental health? After finding himself homeless, Stephen Bryce was helped by a charity called Open House, moved into a shelter, but still had PTSD and really bad mental health. The shelter had a large garden. It was messy, covered in weeds, but with the help of another resident, Steve made it his mission to tend to it, and Stephen created a space that could be enjoyed by everyone. And he believes that's helped him cope with his PTSD. And we're going to speak to Stephen because it's our environmental initiative, Let It Grow, all this week on Radio 2, inspired by the new BBC One series Wild Isles. We're celebrating the joy of planting, the joy of bringing nature to our neighbourhoods. So we got Radio 2 presenters getting stuck in. Zoe Ball's got her sunflower crew. Joe Wiley is planting something amazing on the EastEnders set. There's a brand new podcast as well on BBC Sounds with Lisa Tarbuck called Let It Grow. So let's welcome Stephen Bryce from Dover. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
It sounds like you'd had a really rough time going back over quite a while.
Yes. Suffered with PTSD for a number of years, maybe going back to my early teens. Never really got the help and support I needed growing up. A bit of a lost cause, really. And yes, I came across the Dover Outreach Centre, who put me back on the right tracks, my mental health, and the great support I've had from them. Coming from that, being at Dover Outreach Centre, they put me into a room. I was there for 3 months, but in that 3 months, within that 3 months, I got myself a job. And from that job, the Dover Outreach asked me if I'd like to go and work for them as a night watchman, which I took it on, so now I'm in full-time employment, thanks to them.
Brilliant. And tell us about the garden, how that came into it.
The garden is at a place called Auburn House. There's about 10 rooms here. And like I say, the garden was full of weeds. It had no life into it, really. So we've cut the grass with the help of the P&O, a few volunteers from P&O Ferries. Them came over to help out for the day, which was great. And I just saw so much potential. It's such a big bit of land, and since I've been out there just digging, de-weeding, some of the residents have come out and they've actually opened up to me, what them would like to do, and they've spoke about their mental health, which it's helped me along as well. And now they're actually coming out to dig, and they've got ideas, and you can see the smile on the face.
That is so brilliant
just
to
being
hear.
out in the nature. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, no, I wondered whether you'd done gardening before. It sounds like it's the first time.
I've done little bits over the years, not much, but one of the lads here, we're just sat in here and we're just done a little plan of the garden, what we would like, and it started off with just a very little veg plot on the side. Now it's we're looking at making a seating area under a gazebo, and just carry on from there, really. We've got a compost heap there. We're looking at herb gardens, making runner beans. We'll have a wildlife corner. And a lot of the stuff's being recycled, what we have, in the fact the tools, and we've been using pallets. And it's just being out there in nature in all weathers as well, really. It's brought my mental health on heaps and bounds, and I can see others changing as well, just being out there.
That's so
instead
great.
of being in a room, not knowing what to do with it.
So do you when you're out there, you feel yourself getting better, do you?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And it doesn't matter what weather. I was out there the other day in the rain, making the compost heap and levelling areas out and raking. It's just, it makes me feel alive personally, and I want others to feel that as well, with the veg plots that we've got growing. And I can feel others changing, being out there as well,
That's so great. That's such a lovely story, Stephen. Thank you, and have a great day.
All right, thank you very much.
Stephen Bryce from Dover. It's really, really struggled over the years, got into PTSD, bit of depression and so on, and was in the garden and created a garden and is building it. Is out there now, and he feels his brain clearing. Terry Hickman in Southampton says, when I was much younger, I was bored to tears with my father's talk of growing. But after he passed, gardening played a major part in retaining my sanity. It gives you something to get up for. Sylvia in Devon says, my mum died in my arms on Friday after we spent 10 days together in St Catherine's Hospice. She had the most beautiful death. I've returned to Devon for a week, and it's the garden that's keeping me sane. We would swap plants, tips and photos of our gardens all year. Sylvia, that sounds like a lovely relationship with your darling mum. Lisa Wood in Winchester, you've had your bouts of depression, Lisa.
I have indeed, yes.
And is that, I always think work stress is the usual cause, but it could be something else.
Well, it started when I lost my dad when I was 11 years old. I was an only child, and really although I sort of in later life feel I coped when I was younger, I probably didn't cope very well, and it's resulted in bouts of depression all my life, and then having a stressful job for a lot of my life. I think actually I was burying my depression in my job, just keeping busy, but in the end it just got to me so much. I suffered really bad stress, anxiety, health problems, and I decided I can't do this anymore. So stopped doing that, and I've taken up gardening. I went back to college and restudied horticulture, and which was difficult at the time because I was really struggling at the time, but it did give me something to focus on. And when I finished college, I started just gardening for a couple of people locally, and word of mouth has gone round, and I'm now gardening full time. And it's just an absolute joy, and has completely and utterly changed my life.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear that, because it keeps you outdoors. You've got your little band of customers, have you?
I have indeed, and some of them are elderly, and have been really keen gardeners in the past, but they've got to the stage now where they can't actually physically do the work. So I've got this group of people that I work for that just really appreciate what I do. And I've got great relationships with them, and again, we swap plants, swap seeds. They give me advice because they've got years and years of experience, and I've just met so many people through gardening. And yeah, just being outside with nature just is. I thought after I spoke to your researcher of what it feels like is sometimes if you've got a really heavy coat on that you're struggling with, just going out and being in the garden, just it feels like just it's been ripped off and you just feel light again.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Cheers, take care. Andy in Surrey, same with you. You've gone into gardening?
That's right, Jeremy. Yeah, I did indeed. I was in sales for 30 years. And just prior to the pandemic, literally a day before, I was made redundant. And as a consequence, I kind of thought, okay, I'm now 57. I thought, what am I going to do? Because I kind of had my fill of selling, if I'm honest, being on the road. So I saw an advert, I was a bit bored, and I kind of thought there was a guy who kindly took me on. He had 2 kids that he was having to look after because they were off school. And I basically took his round for him, and he paid me £12, £15 an hour. And as we started to come out of lockdown, I said to him, I can't afford to do this anymore because, I want to spend a bit more money than that, to be honest with you, and set up my own business with the help of my wife. But I have struggled with mental health for about 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm still on citalopram even now. But the prospect of going out every day gardening has just completely changed me as a person in terms of my outlook. And it's just good to be alive.
Oh, that's great to hear. I'm sure you depression. 20 years of depression is a long old haul, isn't it? It takes a while to lift that. But if you sound like you're going in the right direction now.
No, absolutely. And I say, a bit like the previous caller, I do have elderly clients. I do odd jobs for them. If I notice a gutter is blocked or a drain, that's all part and parcel of the service. And sometimes you're the only one they may have seen the whole day. So it's nice to have a chat with them, a cup of tea, talk about the garden. And it's an extension of your home. So I think we all enjoyed our gardens over lockdown, and a lot of people now are spending more money in getting them looking at outdoor space.
Thank you, Andy.
Wherever you are, whatever you're up to.
We're here to get your weekend started.
Morning.
What a way to wake up.
Great WS.
Dermot kicks things off at 8. Dermot O'Leary.
Great tunes, fabulous people. The perfect Saturday soundtrack to get you up and at 'em. Lovely stuff. Then at 10, you lucky things, it's over to Claude.
Claudia Winkleman. Life's little wins, the biggest guess, and a certain level of chaos. Sorry about that. Everyone just needs to suck it up. Dermot O'Leary.
That is the best start to a Saturday.
And Claudia Winkleman. Join the fun every Saturday on Radio 2.
Listen live from 8 on BBC Sounds.
Lovely calls from Andy and Lisa, weren't they? And just talking about the healing power of doing somebody else's garden.
You told me everything to make me stay. You told me everybody makes mistakes. And it was over, I guess, but I was still in your bed. Thought I could keep you as a just in case. You only call me when you know I'm out. Oh, when there's no one that you know around. You should pretend that I'm dead, because sometimes you forget that we're not together. Count to 3, you better believe I'll shut that door and swallow the keys. I said that we chill, then I went for the hills. If I was cold and now I'm freezing. Woke up and saw I was bleeding. Promise I'm done, and now I'm written meaning abandonation. You're not getting the hint. Said it was over.
Just to say, we're all still reflecting on the death of Paul O'Grady and all that he meant to you. Big part of the Radio 2 family over 14 years. If you go onto BBC Sounds and you search Remembering Paul O'Grady, you'll hear all kinds of gems there, including him celebrating the classic TV soap Crossroads on the 50th anniversary of its first broadcast. Anita Rani on her way. BBC Radio 2, Sounds app, smart speaker and 88 to 91 FM.